The MMORPG is by far one of my favorite genres of games. I absolutely love them. I play each of the new ones that come out. I've played some of the old school ones, such as Asheron's Call and EverQuest and Ultima Online. I've played a significant amount of time of the World of Warcraft, playing quite hardcore for 6 years up to the end of Wrath of the Lich King, and then coming back for every expansion. And I've at least dabbled in all of the new MMOs that have come out. The Elder Scrolls Online, Final Fantasy XIV, WildStar, Star Wars The Old Republic, recently Black Desert Online. I mean, I've played a lot of MMOs, and I really enjoy them. I might have come to a realization recently as to why all of the post-World of Warcraft MMOs have, in some capacity, failed, or at least failed in the sense that they didn't become the next WoW. They were never WoW killers, which obviously all the developers and publishers of those games would have loved. Of course, who wouldn't love for their game to strike lightning and become the next big thing that everyone's talking about and everyone's playing, a cultural phenomenon. One of the reasons, we can point to a lot of different things. We can talk about the gameplay, we can talk about the visuals and performance, we can talk about the end game, we can talk about progression, we can talk about the leveling experience. There's so many things we could point to for each individual game to say this is the reason, that is the reason. One of the big reasons that I just recently think I've come to realizing is that a large portion of the World of Warcraft player base doesn't want a new MMO. They're not interested in the next WoW. Now, what got me to think about this? Well, last week I put up a video titled WoW 2, and the basis of that video was just to hypothesize and talk about either a literal sequel to the World of Warcraft, i.e. World of Warcraft 2, or a figurative one, in that looking for that next big game, the next game, whatever it is from whoever, that becomes huge, becomes in essence the next WoW. And reception was incredibly mixed, with some very negative thoughts and comments about what I had to say in the video, and just about the concept of a sequel to a video game. Now, for one, I just want to put this out of the way here. That's crazy to me. Video games get sequels all the time. It is, in fact, very normal for a successful video game to get a sequel. EverQuest had EverQuest 2, Guild Wars had Guild Wars 2. Like a majority of single-player and multiplayer games that aren't MMOs get sequels, but just the notion of a sequel to WoW infuriated some people. It's crazy to me. But it got me to thinking. I was like, well, why is this? Why are so many people like, they just want to play WoW. They just want to keep playing WoW. There's a lot of people, I'm not saying everybody, but there's a lot of people quite clearly who are fine with World of Warcraft the way it is, or maybe they think some changes should be made here and there. You know, maybe they don't like the leveling anymore, maybe they don't like the end game, maybe they're not happy with the PvP, whatever. But at the end of the day, they just want to play WoW. They just want to keep playing WoW. And what that means is no matter how much money, how much time in development, how good of a game, how much it changes the genre, how much it keeps the genre the same, no matter what future developers do to make another MMO, there's a lot of people who just want to play the World of Warcraft, and that's it. They don't care what you do. They don't even want a sequel to WoW. Think about it. People who love the World of Warcraft, there's a lot of them who just don't want a sequel to WoW. They say, no, I just want this game. Make this game better, or keep it the same, depending on who you are and what your opinions are. All these games that have come out, and you know, again, some of them have been fairly successful and continue to be successful. Star Wars The Old Republic, Final Fantasy XIV, and The Elder Scrolls Online are just some examples off the top of my head of recent MMOs in the past 10 years that have come out post-WoW that have their own player base. Now, those games would have loved to reach the crazy numbers of like Wrath of the Lich King, and they would have loved to get those sub numbers, but they didn't. And yes, we could talk to and point to reason X, Y, and Z of be it the leveling, the end game, the story, or whatever. But it's become quite evident to me as time goes on. It's simply that WoW just did something special and happened to catch on in a manner in that it brought a ton of people into this genre of MMORPGs that otherwise wouldn't be into it, wouldn't be interested, and aren't interested in playing others. So now I'm of the impression that it doesn't matter what someone does, you can't set out and try to take a big portion of the WoW player base or become the next WoW. In essence, as I talked about last week, becoming WoW 2, literally or figuratively. You can't just set out to do it. It is very unlikely because it was a special occurrence, kind of like how Minecraft is. Minecraft is a game that starts off relatively innocuous and then just explodes and becomes this phenomenon. This game where practically every kid under the age of 12 that you know either knows of or has played Minecraft. There's a good chance. It's just one of those special things. You can't set out to make WoW 2. It's obvious. And even if you did, even if, again, you know, it's anecdotal. It's based on the comments of one video. Who am I? I'm sure it doesn't speak for the vast majority of World of Warcraft players, but based on what I've seen, lots of people just don't want a sequel to WoW. They don't care. They just want to keep playing that game. And unfortunately, for someone like me, who just loves the MMO genre in general, I love these games. It's why I've played so many of them. It's concerning for me personally, because that means that maybe we'll never get another game like WoW that's as successful as WoW is, because the market's just not there. I've heard lots of people talk about how MOBAs are kind of taking the place of MMOs for many. But yeah, man, the market for MOBAs significantly larger than that of MMOs. Just look at the numbers. Look at the insane numbers that League of Legends and Dota has compared to even World of Warcraft at its peak. So unfortunately, for someone like myself who loves this genre, that means that we're gonna probably see less MMOs made over time. Because if the market's not as big, if companies don't feel like they can make as much money, then they're gonna try to make other games. And we've started to see that shift away from the crazy number of MMOs coming out. For a while, it feels like every couple of months there was a big game coming out in the MMO space. And then after some of them either failed to reach the levels that they had hoped, or literally just failed and closed down, as we've had MMOs do. Warhammer, unfortunately, I'm looking at you. As time goes on, we're seeing less and less. I mean, look at the horizon right now. What do we have in the future? I can't think of many Western-developed AAA games on the horizon. There was EverQuest Next, but that got canned. And right now, when I think about the next couple of years and the MMOs that have been announced, I'm looking at mostly Kickstarter games, crowdfunded games, which are fine in their own right. I'm gonna play Crowfall. I'm gonna play Camelot Unchained. But those games obviously won't be as polished and have quite the production value and probably the player bases as some bigger AAA games could. It's a smaller market, you know? And I myself, as a fan of the MMORPG genre, might just have to come to terms with the fact that companies are starting to realize that, guys, we can't recreate what WoW did. So we might as well stop trying. Now, I'm certain that one day, somebody, some company, whoever it is, will make another big game, something that catches on and explodes like WoW did. But is it going to be exactly like what we expect a typical MMORPG to be? I don't know. It might be a different combination, maybe an MMO shooter style, you know? Even though Blizzard apparently failed to make Titan as fun as they wanted it to be, I still think that's an untapped market that could be very successful. Those are actually games that I enjoy as well. There's a lot that I like Destiny, but there's a lot that I would change about Destiny to make it, in my eyes, a better game. But who am I? I'm not a game developer. I'm just a guy who talks about games on the internet. But I like to share my opinion, and lots of people apparently like to hear about it. So that's what we do here. All right, guys. Well, that is going to do it for me here today. I want to know what you guys think about this, about these discussion points. Why have all of the new MMOs failed to recreate what WoW did? Do you think it is solely because each of those games failed at certain points, be it the leveling, the story, the end game progression, the PvP, whatever? Everyone could point to something in every game, including WoW, as to why it's not as good as it could be or whatever. Or do you agree with my thought that maybe, just maybe, WoW brought in and captured a market that isn't interested in other games, that will never play whoever's MMO that comes out next, because they just want to play WoW because that's a game they've been playing for 10 years. and they don't feel like playing anything else. Alright guys, that is going to do it for me here today. As always, I thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.